Welcome, Andy.
Hi, how are you today? All right, so how do you want to work this, Christian? Would you want me to just deliver the Declaration of Independence or something like that?
That would be odd.
Or our poor Constitution, which is being destroyed at this point? Or people want to ask questions?
Yeah, people can ask questions. I told the audience to raise a hand if they have any questions.
Yeah.
I have a few prepared myself.
Oh,
Of course. I've been digging the dark side of the internet.
All right,
Yeah.
good. Yes, the dark side of the internet. That's always a good thing.
So- That's good because it's going to be hard questions.
All right.
Let's take it from the beginning.
All right. Beginning.
Yeah, you want to stand or sit, by the way?
What?
You wanna-
it makes no difference to me.
Okay, let's stand.
That's it. All right, we'll sit down. Yeah, I'm contrary.
Cool, because originally you intended to become a journalist, and after receiving your Bachelor Art in English from the New School for Social Research in New York,
Yes.
you spent a year in England and the London Academy for the Music and Dramatic Arts on Fulbright scholarship.
Yes.
So when did you decide to become an actor?
Oh no, when I got to college, yeah. You know, I always wanted to be an actor, but I had no idea what actors were. I thought they were from another species, another planet. And so when I applied for this art history teacher I had in college, when he said, "What are you going to do with your life?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm a journalist, a teacher." He says, "No. He was this crazy Italian guy, but he was a brilliant teacher." And he said, "No. You're an actor. You're an actor. You act." And I said, "Oh, okay. So how do you do that?" And he tells me to apply, to the State Department to this scholarship. It's amazing I got it because my mother was a card-carrying communist at a time when that wasn't a cool thing to do. And I think if the State Department had known that, I never would have gotten the scholarship. But once I got to drama school, that was it.
Cool, and talking about acting, I heard you started as a stage actor before moving into film and theater. How did your background within the theater affect you with acting on screen?
Oh, listen, I still am a stage actor. I mean, everything I learned about acting is from working on stage. I mean, I never really wanted to come to Hollywood. My wife wanted to move there. So after I got this film, Dirty Harry, which I had Dirty Harry, I had no idea what film was or whatever. But it was an interesting character. And I got a chance to be a crazy person, and that was nice. I sort of let out a lot of my pent up energy and weirdness, and then people started saying, "Well, you should move to California." And my wife said, "Yeah, we should move to California," and we did, and that's how that all started.
Yeah. And you mentioned Dirty Harry,
Yeah.
one of your, I would say, kind of breakthrough. And I heard that the viewers reacted very hard to your portrayal, right?
I mean, Dirty Harry? Yeah, well, it's like, nobody had ever seen a character like that before. Someone who genuinely, I mean, there were maybe a couple of but mainly European films like Peter Lorre and I can't remember the German film, but someone who was so insane and so committed to his insanity and his psychopathy. So when people saw that, they really weren't quite sure whether the director had really hired, someone out of an insane asylum. I mean, I didn't work for a year. I had to go back to doing theater, but I didn't do film again for a year because people just really thought I was insane. And it's weird. I mean, we're so naive. It's the Americans. I mean, in terms of we see something and we believe it. It's the same thing as what's going on now. But yeah, but there I was in California, and I didn't want to be there. But eventually I made my peace with the place.
Well, yeah, totally, of course. Because you said people are not used to see that psycho person, so to speak, and I heard that you even received death threats after that.
Yeah. I mean, most bad guys, you know, were sort of like, stick them up. All right, give me your money, or, you know, I mean, so it's no real threat to the viewer, you know, because it's kind of stock character. It's sort of like commedia dell'arte, or, you know, it's or like kids games, you know. But the director I was working for in Dirty Harry was a great director. I mean, everything I learned about film acting, I learned from him, because film acting is significantly different from acting on stage. But the thing is, what I brought from stage acting is I brought a sense of, you know, you tell the truth. You embody the truth of the character. And if the character is an insane person, you find a way of tapping into that insanity. And at that point, it was almost like a rude, impolite thing to do. Oh, how dare he? How dare he scare me? Or how dare he be so weird that, you know? And so it was confusing to me, because I mean, you in theater, you do it, you hit it, and you quit it, and you walk on with the rest of your life. In film, you have all these people, you know, millions and millions of people, whereas I come from, you know, the small theaters where, you know, if you had 100 people in the audience like this is a big house, you know, for the theater I've done. But then in doing a film, I'm walking down the street, and then there are people who are sort of like cringing or walking on the other side of the street. And anyway, it was actually a rough time in my life, because it was very confusing. That people did not know the difference between what is theatrical and what is real.
And I heard that
you've lost your shit, man.
Let's do it like that.
There you are.
Good. Yeah, I heard that the Scorpio Killer was actually inspired by a real-life serial killer, the Zodiac Killer. Is that true, or just an internet rumor?
I mean the Zodiac. Yeah. I think it was. Of course, nobody knew who the Zodiac Killer was, and they still don't. So I mean, just basically, they took some of the facts from that, just sort of like, I think, to sell tickets, but had nothing to do with the real guy.
Cool. And of course, we need, as I said, we have only 20 minutes. It goes so fast, so we need to talk a bit about Star Trek, of course, because you're known for your portrayal of the Elim Garak in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But I heard that that's not the initial part you auditioned for, correct?
No, I initially auditioned for the part that René Aubergenois played, Odo, and went down to, I think, 3 of us to play the part, and the right person got the role. René was fabulous in that role. And then they came back to me, I think, the next week, and they said, would you like to come in and read for this character of Elim Garak? And I said, no, I don't want to come in and read for it. I've come in and read for you 3 goddamn times. Why do I have to come back? Don't you know who I am? And I said, forget about it. And so my wife looked at me, Irene, and she said, you're not going to go in for that audition? I said, no, they've already seen me. And she reminded me that the phone was not ringing off the hook with all kinds of offers, and that we still had bills to pay. So I said, okay. I mean, this is true. So I reluctantly went in, and thank God I did, because Elim Garak was one of the greatest roles I've ever had. I mean, in many ways, it was the best role that I ever had, because it went on for 7 years, and it was so beautifully written, and he was so elegant and so witty and everything that I'm not, I mean, and also like a great liar, which I am not. So, but I did learn never to tell the same lie twice.
And talking about written, because you did not only portray Elim Garak, you also wrote a novel about him.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that idea?
Well, it's a thing. You get cast in a role, and you wonder what the hell this role is, and who this person is, and what's their background, what's their story. But it's even more difficult when you're cast as an alien, as somebody from a planet called Cardassia. I mean, I didn't know Cardassia from a ham sandwich. And I'm thinking, what is an alien? What is an alien? You know, why are they different from humanoids? Of course, you can never get away from being a humanoid. But, you know, so I was desperately trying to figure this out. So I started writing. There's a sort of like an actor's technique where which I use from all my characters, where I write a biography of the characters, where are the characters from, what the character's background is, who the parents were, blah, 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 blah. And I so fell in love with Garrick. I really did. It's like, I mean, it was a weird thing. It had never happened to me before. I fell in love with Garrick, and I just kept on writing and writing and writing, and then this book came out.
Yeah, and in that book, Garrett has dealings with a character named Hans Hjort.
Hans Hjort! That's my grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, no, that was my grandfather was a Dane, yeah. Hans Hjort.
And talking about your family, you're not the only one in your family that has...
How did you pick that? You picked that up, the Hans Hjort thing?
Yeah.
That's really amazing. That's really, it's the first time anyone has ever mentioned that.
Yeah.
But of course, here I am in Scandinavia, so I mean, thank you.
And continue talking with your family, because you're not the only one in your family that had participated in Star Trek, right?
No. My daughter was in an episode of Deep Space Nine called The Visitor, which is a wonderful episode. If you haven't seen it, check out The Visitor. It's a great episode.
And I know we have a question from the audience over here.
Yes.
Hi. I love your portrayal of Garrick. And you know, Deep Space Nine ended with him returning to Cardassia. And I just want to know, what do you think he did with his life after the Dominion War?
And he became the president. Honestly, he did. I mean, he became much against his will. This is because I was going to write a sequel to my novel, and I never did because I had such a problem with the people who published the book. And obviously they own the Star Trek franchise, and they didn't agree with some of the changes I wanted to make. But no, he becomes a very high-placed politician, and essentially brings the place back together again, into some kind of constitutional democracy that he hated. At the beginning, and all his arguments with Julian Bashir about, the Federation and how naive the Federation is and so forth.
Let's go with another question.
Yes, I was wondering a bit about, like, from what I've seen other interviews, you're talking about the character, it seems you made a lot of strong choices, and I'm kind of wondering, like, what's the sort of relationship with, like, your direction for the character and the writers writing the character?
No, that's a good question. The writers, I mean, obviously, I hand it to the writers. The writers came up with the character. And the writers, they were so good. I mean, the people who wrote the show. But basically, that's a basic question. And an important question about how does an actor take a piece of material and make it his or her own, and it's hard to even explain that, because there is an alchemy that happens. How do you become, and the paradox is, how do you become another character when you are the same person? So it helped that he was an alien and I had that extraordinary face and the costuming and so forth. And there was a lot of freedom. I found there was a lot of freedom acting behind a mask, putting on a mask, and not looking like Andy, and not sounding like Andy, and for the most part, or behaving like myself, So it's in the behavior. Where the actor has the freedom is in the behavior and the physical action. the words are the words. And especially when the words are good, whether you're doing an episode of Deep Space Nine or Shakespeare or whomever, words are to be respected, and the writer's work is to be respected. But it's the actor who owns the physicality and the activity of the character.
Yeah, and talking about acting, because prior to this interview, I did some research, and I found that you are credited in an ongoing production of a TV series called Spider Noir with Nicolas Cage and Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, actually, it's funny because they just called me or emailed me to go in to do some looping on the show. It's a show that I did over the winter at Sony Studios, and it's part of the Spider-Verse, where Nicolas Cage now plays Spider-Man, and it's a period piece that takes place in the 30s, and Nicolas Cage is this private detective and who has been infected during World War I, and so that's why he's the spider. He has this spider power, and I was also in the war with him, and I got bit by something. I don't know what it was, and I look like I'm playing the role as I look now. An 83-year-old man, but in the script, I'm really 34 years old. And because whatever bit me it has accelerated my aging process. And there we go. And it was wonderful. It was a great role because something. It was the truth. I even though I'm 83, I do feel like I'm in my mid-30s. And so it was actually kind of perfect to play.
Good. Yeah, of course. And I would love to go on for hours and hours and hours, but our 20 minutes is up.
Well, I knew it was going to be fast. I would have liked more questions, but 20 minutes is not much, pal.
Yeah, it goes fast. But if you have further questions, don't hesitate to come by this table.
I'm in there, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you very much.
Yeah, keep that applause up for Andy. He's worth it.